Sometimes the most powerful lessons in life come from our biggest, most spectacular failures. Today, we're going to dive into one of those stories, a journey from absolute financial rock bottom to a total reinvention of what it even means to be successful.
So let's just start right here. Wow. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't just a small stumble or a little bump in the road, right? This is a raw, painful admission of a catastrophic failure. And believe it or not, this is just where the story begins. Because that $250,000 loss, well, it turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg. The total debt, wait for it, climbed to $4 million. Can you even imagine that? We're talking non-stop calls from creditors. This is the definition of being financially bare.
So you hear the phrase, a millionaire's rock bottom, and you might wonder, what does that even look like? For the author, Nate Scott, it wasn't just about losing the money. It was that gut-wrenching moment he realized his entire identity, his whole sense of who he was completely tied to his bank account.
And look at how fast it all came crashing down. His credit score went from a solid 720 to under 600. He went from being a millionaire to the edge of bankruptcy. But honestly, the numbers don't even tell the whole story. Look at that last part, his identity. He went from seeing himself as a successful businessman to, in his own words, an utter failure. That was the real collapse.
And you can just feel the shock in this, can't you? How could this have happened to me? It's that voice in your head that says, I'm too smart for this. I'm too good for this to happen. It's that moment when reality just completely shatters your self-perception. So you hit that point of total disbelief, of total failure. Where do you go from there? Well, this is where the story gets really interesting. This is the turning point. It's that moment you decide to stop the downward spiral and consciously choose a new direction.
And he used this awesome analogy for it. He said it was like being at halftime in a basketball game. You look up at the scoreboard, you're getting absolutely crushed, and you know deep down that the game plan you started with just isn't working. It's time to go to the locker room and draw up a whole new play for the second half.
And this right here, this question is the crucial shift. It wasn't if I can come back. It was, okay, how am I going to play the second half? See the difference? That's huge. It's moving from being a victim of your circumstances to becoming the strategist of your own comeback.
So what did that halftime look like? It wasn't him just sitting around feeling sorry for himself. No way. It was an active, intense, 7-day rebuilding mission. We're talking deep spiritual reading, studying the minds of legends like Covey and Aker, plus daily workouts and meditation. He was actively rebuilding himself from the inside out.
And out of all that work came one central, game-changing discovery. A simple little phrase that completely flips the script on how we typically think about success. It's called the be, do, have mindset.
Okay, so think about how most of us are taught to approach life. It's this do, have, be trap. It goes like this. I need to do this stressful job so I can have the nice car or the big house, and then I'll finally be happy. Sound familiar? It's totally backwards. We end up chasing stuff, hoping it'll magically make us who we want to be.
But this new paradigm flips that on its head. It starts with be. Who are you, really? What are your values? What's your purpose? I love this line, we are human beings, not human doings. Once you get clear on who you are, that's your foundation, then you go out and do things that are aligned with that person. And the cool part? The having, the success, the money, the fulfillment, it just naturally follows. It becomes a result, not the goal itself.
All right, so that's the internal mindset shift. It's powerful stuff. But how do you take that and actually, build something in the real world? Well, the game plan for that is surprisingly simple.
I mean, look at this. 3 steps. Find out what people want. Go get it. Give it to them. It almost sounds too easy, right? But seriously, think about any successful business you love, big or small. This is exactly what they do. They identify a need or a desire, they create or find the solution, and then they deliver it. That's the secret sauce to creating value.
So the trick is learning how to spot those opportunities. You have to switch on what the author calls your entrepreneurial brain. Let's do a quick warm-up. Just look at any product or service around you and ask this first simple question. How could this be improved?
Or how about this one? Can it be simplified? We all hate things that are too complicated, right? Sometimes the biggest innovations come from just making things easier to use.
Think physically. Can the shape be changed? Could you make it smaller, lighter? A simple tweak to the form factor can completely open up a new market. And finally,
Maybe the product itself is already great, but it's not reaching the right people. Could a new marketing plan, a different story, make all the difference?
Okay, so your entrepreneurial brain is firing, you've got an idea. Now comes the part that scares a lot of people, the dreaded business plan. But trust me, it doesn't have to be this big, scary document. Let's break it down into a clear, actionable process.
Look, it's really just 5 logical steps. 1. Just get the basic idea out of your head and onto paper. 2. Do some homework. Is this thing even possible? Gather some data. 3. Use what you learned to refine and focus your concept. 4. Get into the nitty-gritty, the what, where, when, why, and how. And 5. Put it all together in a way that makes sense. That's your roadmap.
Of course, a big part of any plan is usually figuring out the money. You basically need to know about 2 main kinds of loans. You've got unsecured loans, think credit cards or a loan from a friend. They're just betting on your promise to pay it back. Then there are secured loans, where you put something up as collateral, like your house or your car. That secures the loan and makes the lender feel a lot safer.
And here are some pro tips on what not to do when you're planning. First, don't try to predict the future 5 years from now. Stick to 1 year, max. Be conservative with your numbers. It's always better to be pleasantly surprised. And please, please plan for things to go wrong, because they always do. Oh, and last thing, write it in simple, plain English. No one is impressed by jargon.
And that brings us full circle, right back to the most essential takeaway from this entire comeback story. It isn't about having the perfect plan. The idea doesn't have to be flawless. What really, truly matters is this one thing. Do you have the courage to just begin?